Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I only made one trade today. Traded Roku calls. Again, Roku's kind of been like my personal ATM lately. It's been working out good, but I'll show you what I was looking at. Not just what I was looking at, but let's just go over some stuff in general. This is a pre-market high right here, about 159.11. Um, yeah, exactly 159.11. Go back to here. You see, we kind of held the highs here pretty well. Nothing major, no big fall offs, no big pullbacks, except for right at the open. And that's to be expected when it closed at roughly 157.10. Let me see. Close 157.30. It opened at 157.30, so it opened right where it closed Friday. So it didn't really gap up. It gapped up here, but it kind of faded a little bit. And then we got this big sell-off right at the open, big red candle, and we got a bullish engulfing candle right here. Pull this up. Go to here for now. Bullish engulfing candle, and it popped above this pivot point, and it was right at the VWAP. VWAP doesn't hold as much meaning early on. It's like the first maybe 20-30 minutes in before it really starts to mean anything, to hold any weight. But we had a bullish engulfing candle here. I didn't get in right away here. For one, I didn't really see it. I was in a meeting. I kind of caught it a little bit late, but that was fine. By the time I caught it, it had already popped above the VWAP. So I got in at, let me see what time it was, 9:50, and I got out at 10:04. I only bought one contract because, like I said, I was in a meeting. I was actually in a meeting and on a phone call at the same time, so I had quite a few distractions. So I got in and I sold at 10:04, which was shortly after this candle opened. And this candle, when it opened, it shot up pretty quickly. It was actually trading up around here when I sold it. I was looking at these levels here for resistance. It popped through that, and had I had more, I actually thought about adding to my position right in here. Thought about buying one or two more contracts, but I didn't. Unfortunately, I didn't. Had I done that, I would have sold one. If I would have had three, I probably would have sold two right here and rode that last one out to see where it went. And to be honest with you, I probably would have sold it right here. I do like the idea of setting a sell on a close below the cloud, or sometimes this white line here is a 17. This is a 9, and this is the 21. This here is the 17. You see right here 17. So I sometimes set it to sell with a close below the 17. So had I done that with the 17, it would have sold right here either way, whether it was a 17 or below the cloud. Either way, it would have sold right there. So this candle here would have been my sell at 1 o'clock exactly. Let's take a look and see what it was trading at that point. I had the 170 calls for this week. So let's see. We don't need time and sales or active trader. I mean, we don't need that up. So exactly at 1 o'clock would have been right here. So it would have sold it. Yeah, that's not right. That's 152.50. You see what I mean about Thinkorswim doing this? I pulled this one up, and it's still showing at 52.50s or whatever it is. Okay, so exactly at 1 o'clock was right here. So $3.55, $3.55. I sold at $1.81. Had it sold at $3.55, that would have been all the sweeter. Um, but when you only have one contract, you have to protect your gains. I was up 28%. It was only $40, but I was up 28%. And let's just take a look at this. I sold at 10:04, so shortly after this candle. What if I had bought here with one contract and it came up here? And let's say it comes up to here. This is where I sold. It actually was this candle. Sold on this candle. Imagine it comes up, and I only have one contract. I'm up $40, and I don't sell it, and all of a sudden the next candle it drops, big sell off, and it's down here, and I lose 40%, 50%. I'd much rather take that $40 win than the risk trying to ride it out to $200 win, whatever it might be. If you have multiple contracts, you have 3, 4, 5 contracts, sure. My objective is, if I have multiple contracts, sell at least half at the first resistance if I'm up decent enough. At this point I was up 28%. I would have sold at least half of my contracts right there. If I had 4, I would have sold 2. If I had 3, I would have sold 2. If I would have had 5, I would have sold 3. Sell at least 50% of your contracts and then let the other ones ride. And maybe up here, you broke through this resistance, you come up here to a pivot point. Maybe at this pivot point here, sell one. You get right here, maybe sell one of the other ones. So now you have one left. You have a couple of choices. You can either let that one ride and maybe set a close below the EMA, the 21 EMA, the cloud, or put a trail stop on it, maybe I don't know, 10-cent trail stop, I don't know. But that would have got triggered out right here. You would have had to have a fairly liberal trail stop here. This probably would have been, I don't know, well, let's see where it went from 10:39 on. So at 10:39, it was at $3.20 and it pulled back to $2.40. So that was an 80-cent drop. You don't want to have an 80-cent trail stop. But you could have set it to sell maybe up here, once you got to this next pivot, maybe sell it there. And these pivots really are meaningful. I mean, you look here. Look how many candles it took before it broke out of that. Look at this. It came down here. It tested this pivot. Held it. Right here, this candle stopped right at that pivot. These pivots, I rely on them quite a bit. Right here, dropped down below it, and then we had a little bit of trouble breaking back above it. Once we broke above it, big green candle. Look at here, we broke below it over here. Where's it at? Broke below it here, and a big drop, big red candle. Now, if we would have had that red candle earlier, and I had one contract, I would have lost money. I'd rather take a $40 win than to risk taking a loss. It's not worth it to me to try to make $200, try to stretch that out, get greedy, whatever you want to call it. I'd rather take that $40 win and go on my way and be ready for the next trade. $40 profit's better than a $10 loss, or $50 loss, whatever you want to be, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, this chart looks really busy, but after I have all these set up, and I know what's what just glancing at it. I know this is a pivot, this is a pivot, this is my, it's called I forget what it's called now, Hall moving average. I don't necessarily use it a lot. Then we have, the VWAP here. We have the 100 and 200 SMAs here. There's a 200. 100's right above it. That's actually the daily open. But, I know what these are. When I first started using these, I looked at it and said, wow, that's a mess. And this chart here is worse than a lot of them. It looks a lot better on a bigger monitor. This is a 17-inch laptop monitor, so it does make it a little bit not so nice. And I also have yeah, I have 23 or 24-inch monitors. I have 3 monitors on my other computer, and that's what I trade from. This one doesn't look quite as busy. This is Apple. Again, you see we came down, we popped up, came back down to this pivot point here, held it, came up, got to this pivot point here, didn't have much trouble getting through that. We came back down and held it. So yeah, I rely on pivot points, but yeah, Roku is my trade for today. I wasn't going to do a video today because it was only one contract, and it was kind of one of those, well, let's just see what happens here kind of deals, because I was really busy. But there's still a lesson to be learned here. Roku it's really top heavy right now. So I don't know that I'd be leery right now of getting in long, but we had to sell off here with a reversal candle, bullish engulfing candles reversal signal, and it popped above a pivot point. So for that reason, I went ahead and jumped in. See this candle here? It's a daily chart. This isn't quite a spinning top, but the body's starting to get smaller. The body of the candle's getting smaller. Long tail, long wick, a little bit of indecision there. I don't know if we're gonna keep going higher. I don't know if we're gonna, have a little bit of a pullback. But I wouldn't mind seeing a pullback here. Let it pull back to about maybe this level here, which is highs from here. It could go a little bit lower, but it needs to pull back to support level. There's a gap right here. Maybe it'll pull back to that gap and then turn around. But that's kind of what I do. I look at the main Apple, Nvidia. Apple a little bit. It still has a nice candle, but man, it's top heavy. It needs a pullback. It needs to take a breather here. Boeing. I mainly watch Apple, Boeing. Boeing's starting to come down. May see a little bit of a pullback. It hasn't been the greatest to trade lately. It's kind of a no man's land. It kind of doesn't know what it wants to do. Alibaba, same thing. Baidu. I don't really trade these ones too much, but I do watch them. Baidu, it may look like it may have found some support here. We'll see what it does. You see we have a gap right here on Baidu. It came down today and tested that gap. The low today was 115.70. That gap, top of that gap is 115.25, so it did come down. Tomorrow we may come down and touch it, maybe bounce a little bit below it, and maybe we're going to shoot back up, or we're going to come down and close that gap. We also have another gap here, so Netflix. I really don't play Netflix because I don't really like the way that it trades, but I do watch it. There's a nice candle there. We're coming up right here on the 100 SMA. If we can break through that, what I'd like to see tomorrow in this is a pullback to maybe 50% of this candle. Excuse me. Maybe about $300, right about $300, and then come back up and test this previous high. Got something in my throat. Nvidia, nice candle on Nvidia today. It's actually a bullish engulfing, so I'd look for this to go higher. Probably see a little bit of a gap up tomorrow, then a little bit of a pullback. Maybe pull back to about 210. Maybe a little bit lower, and look for a reversal at some kind of support, and then a bounce back up. We already looked at Roku. Tesla's a tricky one. I trade Tesla once in a while, but I try to avoid it because the gaps are usually Spreads are usually a little bit too big, and if you get in and you have to get out right away, it's on automatic 15-20% loss just because of the spreads. Sorry about that. So that's pretty much what I look at every day. Roku's been good to me lately, but tomorrow I'll be watching Nvidia. That's the one I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to look for a gap up. I'm going to look for it to be holding pre-market highs, and I'll look for it to break above that pre-market high. The other thing I'd be watching for is for a sell-off right at the open. If we get a big red candle at the open, look for it to pull back to about the 210 level, maybe a little bit lower, and then look for a reversal. Look for it to find support and then reverse and run back up the rest of the day. That all could change with bad news. I don't know what reports are out tomorrow, who's speaking, what's going on tomorrow in the news arena, but that could all change. So, but that's what I look for. That's what I would be looking for tomorrow on this. Gap up, hold the highs, and at the open either break above the pre-market high or look for it to sell off, pull back a little bit, and then get some buyers and come back up. So that's what I'd be looking for. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. Bye.